Hello everyone, JP the Third for Vans Now, and I'm here today with Citizen Sleeper, the latest from publisher Fellow Traveler and developed by Jump Over the Age. Everybody on this channel should be familiar with Fellow Traveler's work by now. We did Orwell here, which was a fantastic game. Well, the first one, the second one was kind of middle of the road. And they also published Suzerain, which hands down not only was my favorite game of, I believe, 2020, 2021 in that era. The last few years are kind of a blur. So I know it was somewhere between 2020 and 2021. But I'm just going to say 2021. So not only my favorite game of the last year, but also, I would argue, one of the best political simulators of all time. So this publishing group has very quietly put together a very solid catalog of great games. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this one brings. From what I've seen in reviews and in regular just commentary, it is very, very inspired by Disco Elysium, which I played and enjoyed quite a bit. I'm not even gonna lie. It's not a game for everybody, but if you like really densely written narrative games with great characters and great atmosphere, then it's not a bad game to be inspired by. But I wanted to do this little talk for a couple of reasons. First, thank you guys for sticking with the channel. We've seen a lot of growth in the past calendar year. A lot of that was the playthrough of Suzerain, but also a lot of great support for the smaller series, and I appreciate that very much. Like the demo, when I say small, I mean when I play demos. I appreciate that. Thank you. And we will be picking back up some longer term games. This, Lightcraft. There are a couple of games that I've been meaning to play for a long time that I'm going to be getting to now that the year is getting in its usual so for some reason that autumn-winter period is really productive for me on this channel. So in the search for why am I tripping on the word now? In the search for regularity, for lack of better terms, I'm looking forward to what the next few months will bring. And I have seen the comments. I do know people are asking for an autocrat or a dictator run of Suzerain. Please be patient with me on that one. I'm really thinking about the best way to approach it, but I am curious to see how well that will play out as well. So that will be down the road. Everything else noted and commented on. Let's crack into this one and see what we've got. I was about to say, it would have been very ironic if it just... Wow. You don't see it, but I'm going through this little thing where it's... Okay, there we go. Like a preload. So Flux is the first of 3 episodic updates to Citizen Sleeper, telling the story of the refugee flotilla which has arrived at the Eye. So we can pick our class. So this isn't, because some people will ask, and it is a fair question, this is not a traditional visual novel. Sorry. But at this point, I believe everybody is familiar with the fact that I don't always play traditional political novels. I usually try and mix it up and just look at games that are heavily narrative, or have a heavy narrative, excuse me, not heavily narrative, wow. But overall, I think this will still be good for us. So, operator... So we will go with the Brainiac on this one. First thing you become aware of on waking is the disconnect, the delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible. I did not say that right, but always present. It's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many dark hours recalling what it felt like to be real, to be a person, to be in the body that was indisputably yours. A leap into a cold lake on a hot day, the sting of blood welling from a fresh wound, the friction of a fingertip. All of a sudden, the memories are closer than you thought, blurring as you approach, until you can't tell one from the other. The cold slips in, behind you and around you, and the sensations fade out of reach. Perhaps you should be thankful for the dull nature of this new body, given your current circumstances. The walls of the container feel immediately present, cold, hard, at your back and face, cramping your limbs. You resist the desire to stretch, knowing that the claustrophobia comes next, and retreat a little from your central nervous system. It isn't painful, not like you used to know pain, at least. In emergency mode, pain is a message delivered with efficiency and ease, a reminder that harm is imminent. There is no insistent throb, no trembling nerves, just a warning delivered with the banal quality of a digital notification. Right now there are thousands of them. You remember there were 10 of you. 10 that could no longer stand the indentured work, the routines, the slow decay. 10 whose beliefs in the promised future were slowly dismantled day by day, until they realized they had sold away everything they could and would ever matter. Realized they had sold away everything that could and would ever matter. 10 that would escape, or at least die trying. Somebody went in on this Friday, like, this is 1 a.m., bottle of alcohol of choice. Every writer knows that feeling where you're literally just going full, you don't care, you're just going in, and it's as flowery as you want it to be. Some were lost in the shaft, others never found the meeting point. Only a few made it to the containers, but the freighter, as far as you know, left. This feels like enough to know that you might no longer be on that grim and heartless rock, even if, in the airless hold of a freighter, you might freeze solid long before you reach any destination. That's all there is now. It has been a long time since you left. Surely weeks, maybe months. You are dully aware of the damage to your legs, your right arm. You have been reserving energy as much as possible, but your body has still needed to shut down many of its systems to protect you. You have spent much of that time asleep, knowing that anything else would be impossible to endure. You feel the weight of that impossibility begin to gather. It's time to sleep again, to nudge this false body into inducing delta waves into your emulated mind, and once again recoil into a dream of when you were once a person. Time passes. The cold creeps further in. You feel something. Warmth. Not true warmth, but the indication of its presence. Your joints release from their rigor. Sound, too, everywhere. Screeching and shimmering so loud that your body ducks your hearing to protect your senses. Then light, white as the cold, softer and softer, until in a haze of dirty yellow a figure appears. You're out. Nice backdrop. Let's see where we're going. It has been a few hours since Dragos pulled you from the container. You sit huddled in the corner of a scrapyard, swaddled in the reflective folds of a mylar blanket. You are slowly coming back to consciousness, back to life, and you stare at the ornately curving element of an improvised heater. You are surrounded by angular, incoherent lumps of ships, some corroded beyond recognition, others still carrying glassy wounds along their edges, where plasma arcs slice them together. As you trace their shapes with fogged eyes, you hear a voice. So, sleeper, you all thought yet? Never seen one of you come in like this. New friends must have better perseverance than Sub-Zero vac. Seen more than a few of you frozen solid to hull plates or inside outer locks in my time. It was lucky. Dragos comes into focus, shrouded in makeshift tech, his headset with his glinting eyes, the mark of a drone operator. On his shoulder, one of his symbiotic linked drones perches. Its irises its iris is eye-locking you with an unflinching stare. Last living sleeper that came through this yard was a while ago. It didn't last long. You struggle to read his expression beneath the tech, but he seems lost in memory for a moment. Or perhaps he's just figuring out what to do with you. He ignores your question. I won't ask what led you to do it, to sell yourself to a corporation. I suppose you know you can't go back. Your old body, that's theirs now, and you're just software. A rogue emulation illegally possessing corporate property. You nod along. You remember biometrically signing the forms, the cold floor on your feet as you padded to the sleeper cells, the promise of a life off-world. But as you do, you get the now familiar sensation that these aren't your memories. These are things you know, but not things you feel. You're no longer that person. You're an offshoot, a copy. What you won't know is what's ahead. At least the last one didn't. There's no easy way to put it. That body of yours is falling apart. The same way for any sleeper who makes it out. SNR wants to protect their property, but if they can't keep hold of you, well, then no one can. Well, you remember that too, or at least rumors of it from other sleepers. Planned obsolescence, built-in dependence on the regularly administered supplements that were part of your routine. Stop taking them and your body begins to shut down, separate from your emulated mind. How long has it been? How long do you have? But for now, sleeper, you're one of the lucky ones. Dragos glances up and away towards the glassy dome of the yard. The eye is the best place you could be right now. The eye? The station. You'll see soon enough. Dragos impatiently shifts his weight. Look, I've got things to be getting on with, he trails off. There's an old freight container that I've been using as storage out in the stacks. We haven't been pulling in much valuable scrap these days, so you are welcome to it. Something wells up inside of you. Emotion, fatigue. You shakily get to your feet. Alright, you head on up there. You look like you need some rest. With that, Drago stalks back into the wrecks, his drones already converging on a rusting hulk. Plasma flashes silhouetting his spindly figure as he returns to work. Welcome to Erlenstein. Life in the Eye runs in cycles during which you can talk to characters, explore areas of the station, and perform actions. At the end of each cycle, you need to head to your current home to rest. Resting will move time forward on the station. Alright. So we'll be going around the station, interacting with people, and we have very limited time to do so because at some point our body will shut down. What a nice way to start this particular game, knowing that we're about to die. I guess that'll... There is a certain interesting, futility in it. There's only so much we'll be able to do, no matter what victories we get along the way. We'll see. You wake up crawled in the corner of the container and begin slowly assembling the world around you. After all this time, you still find this body, the one you wake in now, strange and disjointed. Its message is readable, but somehow wrong. You sit up, pulling the mylar blanket close against the cold. What I can gather about us, though, is basically there's no way to tell whether we agreed to do this or not. We were probably human at one point, or that just could be the programming in our head telling the machine it was what's human to give itself some sense of purpose, like in a bicameral mind sort of way. Here you are on this run station, millions of miles from anyone you know. Are you still in the system? Did any of the others make it out? It's impossible to know. After all, that's what matters. Well, maybe you did get lucky, finding yourself here. Maybe here on the edge of everything, there's a life for you to build. But before you can build anything, you need to learn to survive. Maybe if you can do that, you can make a life for yourself. Dragons has left a few comforts in the container, the mylar blanket, the bedroll you slept on, a canister of water, a makeshift electric stove, and some faded sachets of some desiccated, I think is what it is. We're gonna go with desiccated. Desiccated powder. You thumb the power studs of the stove and begin to boil the water. The contents of the sachet smell like damp wood. You sprinkle them into the liquid. As the pungent smell washes over you, images of your restless sleep come back to you. A ring, like the station, but skeletal and ghostly. A web of threads pulling at your skin. A constellation of bright, polygonal shapes, like angular suns burning into your mind. There's something unpleasantly visceral about these images, and it is long after you finish drinking before they begin to fade. You tidy away the stove as best you can and try to gather enough energy to greet today. Yeah, this is where people are comparing it to Disco Elysium. Your condition represents the current state of your artificial body and depletes by one segment each cycle, but could also be damaged by violence, injury, or lack of food. If your condition bar empties, you will suffer breakdown. You have to figure out how to recover your condition now that you no longer have access to corporate pharmaceuticals that were keeping you alive. Lovely. Somebody's got to be selling them. At the start of each cycle, you roll your action dice. These dice can be used to perform action on the station. The number of dice rolled is based on your current condition. The worse your condition, the fewer dice you have. Once you have used your dice, you cannot take any further actions and must rest and recover. That's actually fairly clever. Little RNG, but still fairly clever. You also need to eat to survive. This is represented by your energy bar. You can refill your energy bar by eating, but first you'll have to find somewhere to get food. Your energy depletes by 2 segments each cycle. If it becomes empty, you will be starving. When starving energy loss becomes condition loss, and your condition will also deplete at double rate per cycle. So, I'm assuming So, I guess I don't think there's any. I guess we just leave. I don't know how else to roll the dice. Frankly, Dagos has stood in the corner where you close up the container. Excuse me. He is still wearing his headset, and in the harsh light of the corridor, you realize it is implanted. A drone sits on his shoulder, its cachet accessorized, rapidly irising. How are you feeling? I'm okay. The drone chirps. Good to hear. You notice that beneath the operator's rig, his skin is marked by burns and blotches. I know the container isn't much, but it'll keep you safe. He pauses. So, I'm not going to chit-chat too long. You well enough to work? Alright then, he nods. At the yard is simple stuff. We hack these old hulls, sell them off to the shipyards or the bright market dealers for cryo. Occasionally we'll pull in some tech, something with a bit more value, but most of what comes in is scrap. It's hard to find good hands here, but I figure as a sleeper you'll be used to the manual labor, and obviously I'll slip you a few chips of commission based on what you turn up. These, he pulls out a handful of small metal bars. Air-walled cryo, isolated from the market. It's what we use for trade out here. He stuffs them back in his pocket. He shuffles his feet nervously. Look, I wouldn't usually do this. In my opinion, you'd be best suited moving on as quick as you can, and sleepers, well, trail off. But things being the way they are for me at the yard, he pauses. I need the help. We won't make him go in much further. Okay. He pauses, thinking of something else to add. Look, just come down to the yard when you're feeling fresher. There's plenty to do. He nods distractedly and turns and walks away, the drone hopping along ahead of him. See you later, he calls back. Looks like it's time to get to work. Okay, so the problem. The very distinct problem is that I have no idea how the dice work. Like, I'm assuming I just leave it like that. Or is there some way to properly stack them? Or, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm assuming. I'm assuming there's a way to do this where you can get them all. And you gotta figure out how to do that. I swear I'm probably just messing around with this stuff and it doesn't matter. Actions are the primary way you interact with the world of Citizen Sleeper. To perform an action, click and drag the chosen action dice to the slot. Oh, okay. So basically, you have dice that you start with, and then you kind of put it into an area. Action rewards you with clock progress, energy conditions, or items depending on the outcome. There are 3 types of outcomes: positive, neutral, and negative. Okay, so that's why you're able to stack. Action display information about their type, risk level, and skill and modifiers that apply to the action. So type is either critical or repeatable. Risk is safe, risky, or danger. Okay. Skill that requires engineer. So this is based on what our skill set is. And then modifiers. So let's see here. So Dagon's kind of so ugly, and he missed a payment. And if he misses a payment or two, things could get nasty. So what we want is basically I'm going to try this. Okay. So basically it's all risky. This is technically safer, but it's outside of my range. If I was the other class, it would be probably fine. So, what do I want to do? Can't do both. So this one's a little riskier, but I like our chances a bit better. Because this one has a -1. At least with this one, we have a decent shot. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Action often progresses clocks. Clocks are displayed some below the action that fills them, and they track your actions and how they affect the world. Filling a clock means something good or bad is about to happen. Some clocks, such as the one tracking Diagon's depth, are cycle clocks. These clocks tick themselves once each cycle and can complete without player input. Any after cycle clocks will be so you have a limited amount of time to do stuff for things like this. If you don't take any action at all, that means Davos will probably die. Or Dragons will probably die. So you have a limited amount of time to do stuff. So you gotta Gotta keep that in mind. Let's use this one. In Citizen Sleeper, you will unlock drives as you discover more about yourself and the world. Drives guide you into pursuing specific objectives depending on which path you wish to take. You can track drives and any track drives will place a yellow marker on locations that will help you pursue your goal. Access your drive menu via the arrow button at the top left hand of the screen. You're now free to explore Earnest Eye and make a life for yourself. Try tracking the drive to help you survive, look for food, fill clocks, and remember to end the cycle when you're out of dice. So I only have 2 more dice left, so I can't spend all day working. But I have some money behind me, so let's try and find a doctor. I believe this is the doctor. Or here we go. Let's check here first. Wow. So this would be if we want to escape. None of this kind of gets us what we need, though. We need to find a doctor. Let's get that done. Take several. Okay. We won't worry about that right now. Finding a doctor is not going to be easy. Ah, here. That helps. We have... Thank you, game. This game has waypoints. I need better dice. So, wow. I need to fill this out entirely in order to find the doctor. I should not have spent all my time working, because now I gotta go back to sleep. Oh, or just... Next, come the call from the enforcer at the door. Well, at least I'll find a doctor this round. Hopefully I don't have to roll for it. You shuffle towards the flickering hall, towards the open apartment door. You keep your head down and your shoulders high in the queue, trying not to bring attention to yourself. You were thankful for the tip-off that a doctor was operating out of this place. But now that you're here, you aren't so sure. The gang enforcer on the door, the flickering light strips, the decaying hat block, they have all made the long queue a test of your nerve. But your options are few. Without a supply of stabilizer, this body, your body, will... You suppress a shiver and shuffle forward to the front of the queue. You try to find something to distract yourself. You lean against the doorframe and look into the apartment. The entryway is dark, punctuated by the green indicators of stacks of sealed containers. You lean in and see amber light filtering through a far doorway, screened with plastic sheeting, beyond which blurred shapes move. The slap of the enforcer's palm against the doorway jerks you awake. Wait your turn, he growls. After a few moments, a figure pushes through the doorway, and you catch a distant voice. Send the next one in, Tashira. The enforcer jerks his head, and you slip inside, passing through the dark entryway and pushing through the plastic sheeting of the far door. The room beyond is bathed in warm light. A floor-to-ceiling transparent panel gives a full view of the bright market sealed roof and the buzzing traffic above. And for a moment, you are transfixed by the motion. Come, sit, calls a sharp voice, and you see a silhouetted figure turned away, replacing the plastic sheeting over the frame of a simple folding bed. You make your way across the room. The figure turns, and as they do, you see an expression of confusion flash across their features. They open their mouth as if to speak. They blink, and then quickly regain their composure. Please sit. They gesture to the bed and turn to an open case of tools on the table. You sit. Sabine turns, a compact diagnostic scanner of some kind in her hand. So this is Sabine. Very popular name now in science fiction. Remain still, please. Their tone is clipped and businesslike. You stare ahead, still dazed from their expression when you first entered. Fear, recognition, sadness unmistakably etched across their face. How long have you been on the station? They ask, the scanner still to their eye. They nod. It's good you came to me. They set the diagnostic scanner on the table. I want to start by assuming you don't know anything. They take your arm and roll up your sleeve, inspecting your synthetic skin. Your body is dying, they say without ceremony, without drama, but not without empathy. SNR doesn't like to see its proprietary technology let loose, to prevent bodies like yours, frames as they call them, from being stolen, repurposed, or in your case, escaping. They built in a process of so-called planned obsolescence. Frames decay rapidly when they're not regularly injected with stabilizer, one which SNR remains the sole producer of. They look up. Sound familiar? Well, how do you know this? They shift in their seat. You aren't the first sleeper I've encountered. You wait for more, but they go back to their inspection. They swap to your other arm, running some thin metal device over your skin. You feel your forearm tremble. Sorry, Sabine says. You are unsure if they mean for the cold touch of the metal or everything else. Emulations like you, sleepers as most people know you, aren't classified as people in any of the surrogate systems. You have no rights, no status. They focus hard on the inspection of your arm. And SNR has no reason to release stabilizer into the market. Sabine looks up as if to apologize again, but they stop themselves. I know little of this is of use to you. They turn away, disassembling the metal instrument and cleaning it. Silence fills the room as Sabine works, and then the silence gives way to tension. You stare at their back, willing them to say something, anything. Sabine turns to face you. I may be able to help, they sigh, and you see the darkness under their eyes. Hear the fatigue in their voice. They gesture to the door. You saw Tashir outside? You nod. He works for my benefactor, Yadigan. They are influential in the low end. They give me the space to work, run the door, and take the profit. Profits. Plural. At the same time, I have to fix up their enforcers, tend to their implants, sew up their wounds. They look away. But Yadigan has connections. Smugglers from the Starwood Belt. Mercenaries working for the corporations on Ember. If they can source the stabilizer, maybe you'll have a better chance. Sabine set down their slate, their notes complete. This is dangerous. It'll be expensive, but I think we can do it. I mean, I want to say thank you, but this is a far more pressing question. Why help me? Sabine walks away to the window, their face dappled by the shadows of passing drones. Let's just see if this works first. I'll let you know when I have a lead. Well, that's an answer, I suppose. You nod and leave, Sabine still staring out unmoved. When you reach the lower levels of the market, you look back up through the panels of the roof, see if you can see their face. But the room looks dark against the lights of the market. You duck your head and walk off into the crowd. So, there is a way to live, it's just not particularly likely. I mean, it doesn't particularly matter what I do. I don't have any... Sourcing stabilizer, yeah, that's it. It's going to take a few cycles for that, which means I'm going to need some fantastic dice rolls. Is there any way I can get some food? No! Damn it. What's the point of the money if I can't get food? So, I can go see Yadigan, but I need money. I need to give him more money for that one. This is going to get complicated fairly quickly. So it does. I'm starving. Versus when there's a lot to do. So let's back up and just go to sleep. Because I don't, it's not like I have any food right now anyway. This time you don't wake up. Instead, the ghost of the station that shifting skull ring surrounds you. For a moment, you're gone, absent from your own body, stretched out across a colorless void. Then the connections begin to establish themselves, threads tugging on the edge of your mind. These threads become the vectors of exchange and then extensions as you feel your thoughts slipping away down them, dissolving into the millions of distributed nodes they connect to. You see the station. No, you feel the station, like a web of texture in smooth black liquid. You find a point in the station, and you connect to it, pulse through it, follow loops and paths under and around it. You touch more points than you have fingers, and you try, in a moment of impulsiveness, to connect them. The flow passes through you so rapidly that you feel yourself being carried with it, splitting and separating, eddying and gathering. As you do, things occur to you, things that you can't possibly know. You reach out, try to grasp them, try to touch them too. I think somehow we've connected to the station. You notice a tugging feeling, pulling at you, insistently, as if it were a small child. Somehow it is pulling in two directions at once. You look down. All of a sudden, everything shuts off. You come back trembling into this unfamiliar body, both yours and not yours all at once. You find yourself standing in a container, eyes now open to the dark steel walls. You feel a change within you, a shift. Excuse me. You close your eyes for a second, and you feel it waiting there. The stations played out across your mind, a storm of connective nodes waiting to be explored, and then it's gone. This dice roll is a little bit better, although if I don't find something soon, wow. So the first, we have limited time to pay back Dragos, but we need food. So, okay, so I see now. So some of these are just based on a cycle clock of when certain characters will be involved in the story. You don't have to roll for them, they'll just show up within certain cycles. That's good to know. Same. We'll do a little exploring this time around. Because I need to find food. Alright. It's one of those things where I just gotta wait it out. Let's see. Get my highest roll possible dice here. We're gonna ask for directions. I just need food. Damn it! You'll land into a blind alley and jump from behind. By the time you get to your feet, both the thugs and the chins are all gone. Well, that worked. Got it. Infants is busy. His broad face, I should have just did that in the first place. It would have saved me some money. His broad face uplit by the makeshift gas burner in front of him. With precise, delicate movements, he lays thick chunks of marinated fungus into a dented wok. His other hand idly tossing a metal bowl of sliced vegetables and some bread flick dressing. It smells incredible. You watch as he fulfills the set of orders, heaping the fungus with the bright salad and depositing it in plastic. Wow. Excuse me. And depositing it in plastic trays. A stack of chips rattle in his apron pocket as customers file past the burner, handing over payment. I don't have time to watch. You join the queue. It's mostly made up of off-duty salvagers, vac suits unzipped, and rolled down exposed stained vests, grubby mods, and a lattice of scars and tattoos. They discuss the best food on the eye, the best drink, comparing notes on bright market dives, their words cut through with heavy spaces slang. Eventually, it's your turn, and you shuffle to the front. Infant speaks in a deep, even tone without looking up. First try is free. Nice. The smell is almost unbearably strong as he cooks. The earthiness of the fungus is laced with something so spicy the smoke makes your eyes water. The heat from the burner is like bonfire, your skin harder than its glare. I know you sleepers, Infant says while he cooks, his voice deep but clear. A hard life, a lot of stories. He glances up from beneath his cap with piercing eyes. I know. You begin to tell him about your journey to the eye, and he nods as he cooks, his eyes never leaving his work. You tell him of the confusion, the pain, but also the sense of possibility and its sudden arrival. You tell him of the cold and dark of the container, and the inner cycle spent within it. Now it seems, you tell him, like some dream that you once had but can never forget. You tell him that the eye excites you and scares you, and you're unsure where to walk, where to look, what to do. Eventually, you tail off, running out of words. He places a plastic tray of steaming fungus in your hand. Next time we could talk some more, he smiles. But next time, you pay. He slams a heavy hand against a button on the burner side and it shuts off. The roar of the flame and its impressive heat fades. Next time, then, sleeper. He waves you away and begins to oil the walk. Before you turn back to the alley, you notice the geometric patterns of circular scars across his forearms, each surrounded with a constellation of glinting pen marks. Done. You walk away, and as you do, you take a bite of the rich, spicy, delicately sweet fungus. Your taste sensors light up like a fusion reactor. You'll be back. New discovery. So that helped a bit. Get to know Infants. He may be a sleeper too. Although they're not supposed to last long. I don't know. We'll have to find out. We're gonna need some more money though. Alright! Guess who made our money back? We need to sleep. Again, the skeletal ring of the station fills your mind and sparkles with glittering lights like stars reflected in a winter lake. It is clearer, crisper than before. The threads still pull, but you remain in place, flickering in the flow. Between the threads, you see bright shapes, catches of shimmering white light beneath transparent crystal forms. You follow the path of a thread across the ring, through these forms, and leap off into the void. You begin to understand there are nodes and connections, a map of information with communication. There seems so many layers, so many loops that it seems almost impossible to parse, but you begin to try. The nodes are glassy, bright, but in all this flow, the only solid and fixed points. You approach one, a pyramid, or triangle, dimensions are difficult here, and lean close to it. Inside, shifting layers conceal a tangle of threads, a meeting point of exchange. But before you can glimpse any further, the glass clouds and hardens, cutting you off. The threads and nodes, passages and puzzle boxes, one leads to another. There are so many here, so many answers, so many questions. All you need to do is follow the paths and open the boxes. You look across this ghost landscape of exchange and see an opportunity. But then, that instant tugging again, pulling at you. You look down again and see two lines, two threads pulling in different directions, as if they're tied to you. The first thread leads out, away from the station, into the inky black. Someone out there is tracking you, hunting you, following the thread to you. They're in a ship, and the ship is approaching ever closer with each cycle. Well, that's never good in this sort of situation. The second thread leads in, pulling deeper into the station. Your gaze follows it, and this time you see something. A sphere shimmering along a strange angular body. A pulse shoots out from it, passing over you like a torch beam, testing you, tasting you. You open your eyes. Time is short. Oh, that's fantastic. Really. Something has changed inside you. You can now access the data cloud of the Eye, a network of decaying protocols and data caches. While there, you can use dice and items to access systems and extract data, but be careful, these networks are old and strange. Click the I button at the top of the screen to toggle the view on and off. Whoa. That action will allow you to extract data from the network of the Eye. They work like dice actions, but in order to unlock them, you must match your dice to the one displayed on the right of the action. If you have a +1 and +2 modifier in the interface skill, you'll be given more possible dice to match. You can use any dice that matches the dice displayed. Okay, so in order to... Okay. So... It just can't be any dice though. It's gotta be this particular one. So what we're looking for... Here we are. This node is orbited by the remains of a corporate countermeasure broken long ago by hackers. So this one, well, let's back up. Let's see what other options we have here. Some gang enforcers in class are chirping out a comm signal. Let's try to see what they're talking about. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't need to match it exactly. But that would be kind of the one I need, wouldn't it? That one's still locked. So we have a few options here. I'm going to test this out. Let me just try on the Yadigan agent. That could help. Here we go. So, as long as we have a, I guess, as long as we do a +1 and +2 modifier, we don't have to hit the number exactly. Good to know. But someone is, oh, gotcha. That's reminding me that I don't have much time on this particular rock. Oh, let's go. So we've almost got it completed. Let's just use all of our dice. Alright, so yeah, one more cycle and I got it. Perfect. And that'll pay back Dragos. Let's get some food. Hopefully it's not, Oh, son of a bitch. I need dice. Oh wait, no, I don't. I just need to put it here. Let's go! Alright. So, Emphasis doesn't trust people easily, but he notices regular customers in his own quiet way. Alright, so we got food. And we'll know him better the more we visit his stall. And in the next turn, Sabine should have our stabilizer. I think they're picking up pretty quickly. All things considered, that's probably for the best. Let me see. Wait. Yeah, I don't have any upgrade points yet. We'll have to wait that one out. Wait, what? Okay, so that's just a modifier. Just want to be sure. All right, let's get some sleep. We only have 2 dice now. Oh, crap. As you close up, a voice echoes down the corridor to you. Sleeper, wake up. Sleeper, wait up. Fang is coming down the corridor towards you, a wonky grin on his broad face. Hey, glad I caught you. Do I know you? You grin. You do now. He puts a hand on your arm. I see you hanging around. I've seen you hanging around. Just wanted to chat. You staying in that thing? He nodded back. He nods back to the container, shaking his head. Rough. It can be hard to get a start on the eye. He looks away down the passage. What was it old Erland said? The eye opens for us all. Nice idea, but well, not always very practical. He glances back at you. We do our best, but it isn't easy. It's like I can read the monologues perfectly. It's the dialogues that get me. Erland? You pass together into the main walkway. No one has told you about Erland? He's the founder of this place. That's why it bears his name. Havenage should organize some seminars, he laughs. Not really my department, though. I'm with systems. Havenage. Think of us as an administrative association for the eye. Depending on who you talk to, we either emerge as a response to or a continuation of Andre Erland's original union. He smiles. Personally, I avoid the topic. Yeah, that's what I'm about to say, like, it feels like it's a union. He stops you in the quiet passage. Look, that's not what I want to discuss. I've been seeing some unusual network activity, and, well, I know a little about you sleepers. I have a small proposition for you. He glances around. But this is not the place for it. I have an office just across the way. Give me a cycle or 2 to prepare. Then, when you are settled, stop by. He lowers his voice and gives you a dark look. In truth, I need you. If what they say is true about you sleepers, well, there's work to be done. He pats you on the back, his voice brightening, and his dark look suddenly gone. Stay clean, sleeper. He walks off down the passage, raising a hand in farewell. Well, looks like we'll have some extra work fairly soon. The first thing you see on entering is the glint of Toshira's implants, like a cat's eyes, in the dark of the corridor. He nods you in as you arrive at Sabine's door. The entryway is still dark, and you push through the sheeting into the surgery. I have it, Sabine stands with the case open in front of them. A set of vials lined up inside, separated by foam inserts. They pick up one, rotating it in the warm light. I have no idea how Yadigan. They trail off. We should treat this with caution. It looks authentic, but I have no idea if it really is what it appears to be. I don't care. Yeah, either it's real and it helps, or it's not and we're dying anyway. It doesn't really matter. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we need to be careful. Unfortunately, I'm not sure we have another choice. It gestured for you to sit on the bed. The stabilizer works under a similar principle to an immunosuppressant in a transplant operation, in that it stops your body from rejecting the unfamiliar part of itself. In the case of your frame, the unfamiliar part is each of your biosynthetic organ groups, which over time are identified by your body as foreign material and therefore must be eliminated. Sabine holds up a vial of the would-be stabilizer. However, unlike an immunosuppressant, the stabilizer doesn't do this by limiting your entire immune system. Instead, it re-encodes your biosynthetic organs with new protein chains, which act as passcodes within your immune system. The stabilizer refreshes those passcodes, keeping your frame from ejecting from all of its own organs. In very basic terms, yes, they sigh. Look, what matters here is that the stabilizer should be able to encode any organic or biosynthetic matter to be accepted by your immune system. They glance away, at least if the stabilizer is genuine. The only way to know for sure is to inject the vial. They begin readying the syringe. I'll start with a small dose to limit the risk. I don't have a choice. Yeah, I really don't. I think you're right. Sabine cracks the glass neck of the stabilizer vial and uses a syringe to extract a fraction of the liquid. You tap the syringe, and you watch as if any sign might emerge from the clear liquid. You barely feel the needle. Your frame registers the initial injection but with little response. A sensation begins to spread from the site, a fizzing, trembling wave that disperses through your arm with an incredible speed. Your vision goes white, and when it returns, Sabine appears encased in shards of sparkling light that slowly fade into darkness as you settle back against the bed. You swim in darkness, muffled noises like an argument heard from underwater, prickling waves of cold. When you sit back up, Sabine is sitting in a chair by the window, facing away from you, backlit by the glow of their slate. Awake? Yep. The stabilizer is genuine. They sit down beside the bed. I don't know how Yadigan acquired a case of this stuff, but they did. Sabine looks troubled and distracted. You should rest some more, but you're going to have to do that somewhere else. They gesture towards the door. I have other patients. Sorry. Sabine nods towards the case. I'm afraid I can't offer you any more doses. I'm afraid I can't offer you any more doses. You're going to need to pay for your next dose. Silence fills the room, and they return to their glowing slate. Looking around the room, they seem different somehow, as if things have moved or shifted. You wonder how long you've been out. Sabine? Nothing comes free, Sleeper. Remember that. Wow. Let me try that with a better inflection. Nothing comes free, Sleeper. Remember that. You manage to get to your feet and wander out into the hallway. The queue stretches down the flickering corridor. Shiro stands impatiently by the door and fixes you with a glare as you leave. You lower your eyes as you stumble past, somehow faintly aware of the station spinning beneath you. Alright, so for better or worse, we are stable. Let's get a little energy under us, and then we'll work. Full energy and fully stable. Let's go. It's not going to improve my dice rolls at all, but it's good for us. So first things first, let's go ahead and this should do it. Yes. To drag us. You arrive into a buzz of activity at the yard. Red blinking lights flash across the vast dark shape suspended below the dome. They flicker across scorched whole plates and bent structures, spilling from holes in a twisted shape. The cutter is huge and has been torn apart in some violent encounter. She's a beauty, isn't she? Drago stands inside, focused on the hulking ship as it's lowered into the yard. I should thank you. This place was on its last legs when you turned up, and now look at this. The ship descends slowly, its interior visible through multiple hull breaches. You struggle to gather the same enthusiasm as Drago for this monstrous craft. You can't help but think of what became of his crew. What happened? What do you mean? He glances at you. I managed to convince our salvage your friends to give it to me on credit. That's what happened. No, what happened to the ship? Not my concern, he shrugs. The ship creaks like a calving iceberg as it reaches the base of the yard. Drago's is visibly excited. I know I said you shouldn't stick around, but I'm gonna need some help with this one. The drone starts to crawl over the Hulk, their lights illuminating flashes of dented hull. Watching, you wonder if you've arrived in a similar fashion, locked inside that container, the wreck of the Essen art freighter lowered into the yard like a corpse ready to be butchered. Or I read that completely wrong, but I don't care. Or was it the container delivered to Dragos? Or was the container delivered to Dragos on its own? A womb for your rebirth into this strange station. You shudder. Perhaps you could learn something about the ship. Perhaps if you learn something about the ship, you might be able to trace the path that led you to this yard. Dragos squeezed your shoulder. After these past cycles, I think we're up to it. What do you think? You see the fading name of the ship emblazoned on the side. Winterlight. Let's do it. He claps you on the back. Glad to hear it. Come back in a few and we can make a start. A real beauty, Dragos repeats, perhaps just to himself. You take one last look at the shattering ship as the drones start cutting, and then slip out of the yard, feeling suddenly cold in the empty passage. Alright, so you've completed your first drive. Each drive completed unlocks an upgrade point. You spend on upgrading your character. Access your character menu via the arrow button at the right side, the top right of the screen. So we pay Dragos. We now need to buy some of the stabilizer. But we got an upgrade point, so let's see what we can spend it on. This just does not look. The endurance one would have came in handy on this one, but I chose against it. Let's see, chance to get random scrap pattern. This looks like it'll be the most efficient or the best use of the point, because it leads to me being able to use scrap to repair myself if I get in a bad condition. And there will be times where I just can't afford stabilizer. So let's go with that. We have the option of other jobs. So more options on the station. We do need to do a little bit more exploration. We have salvage should be coming in next cycle. Let me just see how much a vial costs. 100. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's gonna take a second. That's gonna take a second. Let's do a little exploration, and that'll probably be it for this episode or this session. Negative outcome. You're going nowhere. Yeah, so that didn't lead to anything. Bit of a waste. Okay, so we'll get ready to rest. So we need 100, not crypto, cryo. To buy a single vial of the stabilizer. We're not gonna have a lot of time to do it either. So, and when we get to it, we'll have two different options to do. A lot of choices in this one. Okay. Gives you plenty of options depending on what you want to do. Alright, let's hang it up for this cycle. When we come back, we'll do a little bit more exploration and start the long crawl to getting 100 cryos so that we can not die. At least not immediately. But so far I'm intrigued by the world of this game. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. To see how it goes. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Advanced.com. It is advanced.com. Wait, that is not part of the outro anymore. I keep forgetting my own outro. So yeah, no, just for other stuff I'm doing, check the box. I'll link some stuff that I'm doing outside of this particular channel if you're interested. But thank you guys very much for checking out the video. I'll see you in the next one.